Hey, ever wrapped something in a div tag and your layout just shifted unexpectedly, or used a span tag and nothing changed at all? So that's not just your bad luck. It's the real difference between block and inline elements. So in this video, I'll clear the biggest beginner confusion. So when to use div tag and when to use the span tag and how it actually impacts your web page. So first we have the div element. So the div element is basically a block element and it is used for grouping of the larger sections of the content or layout. Like we have the div element, so we can group an h1 element and the p element together, or we can have many more elements. So basically the div element is known as the container for other elements. It means the elements that we write inside the div element will get contained in the div element. So let me show you with example. So as you can see, the h1 element and the p element got contained inside the div element. And we have more advantages of the div element. Like suppose we have the h1 element separately and the p element separately. Now suppose if we want to change the color of this text, like the h1 element, the text that we have, this separate h1 element and this separate p element. So suppose we want to change the color. So for that, we need to style them individually. But suppose if we have these elements inside the div element, then we can easily apply styles to them. Like instead of styling them individually, we can have so as you can see, instead of individually applying the styles to them, we applied the styles to the div element that is containing the h1 and the p element. And on the other hand, we have the span element. So it is basically an inline element and it can be called as inline container, and it is mostly used for providing styles to the part of the text or maybe inline styling for other elements. Like we have a p tag. Now suppose we want to change the color of this blue and this dark green. It means we want to change the color of some part of the text. Then we will use the span element. So we will put the part of the text that we want to style inside the span element. So now we will style them. So as you can see, the part of the text got different colors. So this was the use of span element. And there is one more thing. If we want to create a good web page layout or design, then you must know the proper use of the div element. So for that purpose, let us have one more example of the div element. Suppose we have a web page where we will have a header, the main content, and the footer. So suppose this one is the header, and suppose this one is the main content of our web page. And we have another p element which will act as a footer. So now, as you can see, the contents are displaying one after the other with no clear separation or structure. And there is no way to easily organize or style these sections as different part of the web page. So now let's have the div element and put these elements inside the div element. So now, as you can see, our web page got structured as we have the header, the main content, and the footer. Although this web page would have been created in a much better way. Like this header would have been brought at the center, or maybe this footer would have been pushed at the bottom. But those things are the CSS things which you will learn in the CSS part. But for now, I just wanted to show you how important the div element is, and especially for having a good layout of your web pages. So yep, that's all for this video. Hope you all understood about the div and the span element. So here I have the simple interview challenge for you. So it says, why is using a div tag preferred over using multiple BR tags for your layout structuring in HTML? Then we have the second question that says, how does the default display behavior of div and span affect the way they are styled and positioned on a web page? Then I have one more simple and practical question for you. So you are simply given this HTML code. You simply have two divs. That is, inside the first div, we simply have the hello, and inside the second div, we have the world. So we have simply the hello world. So you need to make both divs appear side by side. So try to think, what CSS would you apply? So as always, the first one to give the correct answer for these three interview questions, I will simply pin that comment. So just try to answer this on your own. So yes, that's it for this video. Hope you all understood about the div and the span tag in a much better way. So see you all in the next one. Till then, take care.